You should be proud of the legacy of the Spanish Armada left on the Inishawen Peninsula. Know it, value it, and pass it on the future generations. A legacy of heroes fighting against adversity, an example of camaraderie, of overcoming difficulties, such that demonstrated by the 14 years old Pedro Salto. This legacy is one more reason that brings the Spanish and the Irish to work together despite the distance, and to consider ourselves sister peoples for centuries. I'm Pedro Luis Chinchilla, founder of Armada Invencible Sport.org, from where we try to spread this epic story to preserve its memory. It's a pleasure to be able to speak to the students of the Scoul Mhuire Buncrana, honorary members of Armada Invencible Sport.org. Querida Sofía, muchas gracias por permitirme estar con vosotros hoy e invitarme a colaborar con vuestro colegio. Es un placer ayudaros a mantener viva esta memoria y esta historia que nos une. And by the way, she speaks Spanish perfectly, so you can learn it very well with her. Our protagonist, a real character, Pedro Salto, was sailing on the Trinidad Valenciana, one of the largest ships in the Spanish Armada. Pedro, probably a companion or a page boy of a Spanish nobleman, has already fought valiantly against the English in his passage through the English Channel. El Trinidad Valenciana, once bordering Scotland, wanted to return to Spain bordering the Irish west coast. The ship, damaged in the fighting, was leaking and also had to rescue another 100 companions from La Barca de Hamburgo that ended up sinking in Maidenhead. Capitán Alonso de Luzón organized the victim of the ship, but was unable to prevent it from sinking before transferring the last 50 sailors remaining of the ship ashore. Pedro Salto was lucky and reached land and saw these strange people for the first time, the Irish. They weren't very pleasant in his reception, but they didn't hurt him. Some Spaniards exchanged weapons for food, and others were simply robbed. Life in Inishawen shouldn't be easy in the 16th century, and the Spanish were a good way to get extra resources. Capitán Alonso de Luzón could learn that in a castle near there, a Catholic bishop named Cuncubar O'Dainig, Conor O'Debony for the English and Cornelius for the Spanish, that could help them to come back to Spain. The captain ordered soldiers to raise their flags and go together to Alec Castle, so that they could be helped. On their way, and very close to Alec Castle, they were surprised by that great army made of English and Irish mercenaries, and led by the English Oventine brothers and the Irishman John Kelly. Alonso de Luzón, with many of his sick men, was forced to agree a surrender. The deal was guns for life, and the Spanish agreed. Imagine how our 14-year-old boy had to face that, but the story was going to be even worse. The English broke the pact, and after separating the sailors from the officers and noblemen, the most humble of them were killed with spears and shots. Pedro Salto was lucky. The English assumed that he was someone well connected with the officers, and he was transferred to a group of 42 men who saw their companies murdered naked and frozen. About 100 Pedro companions were able to escape and head to Alec Castle, where some of them died and others were helped by Cucumber O'Dainig, Sorley Boy MacDonald and the Irish chief O'Callaghan. They were able to return to Spain through Scotland. The remaining 42, Pedro Salto among them, were transferred in a brutal 40-hour march to Drogheda prison. On the trip, our protagonist, Pedro Salto, only 40 years old, died of exhaustion, and documents say that he died without giving up. His other companions were tortured and murdered by the English, and only 2 of them were able to return to Spain alive, Alonso Dulzón and Donacio Donaggio. In the end, about that 500 men, only 100 survived. Cucumber O'Dainig, years later, was martyred by the English in Dublin and was proclaimed a saint in 1992, along with 16 other Irish martyrs. Pedro Salto, our 14-year-old hero, is buried somewhere between Alec and Drogheda. Upon returning to Spain, Alonso de Guzmán, he married with María de Guzmán y Aragón and had many descendants. Alonso de Guzmán died in 1620 and is buried in his family chapel in the San Francisco convent in Madrid. So, and what do you think you should do to keep the memory of Pedro Salto? Perhaps you can go to Kinnick Bay and send me some photos of the website. Perhaps you can also investigate the bell of Donach Church in Cardonac, if it is really the bell of the Trinidad Palencia. Also, you can go to Malin Head to see the site of the shipwreck of the La Barca Tamburgo, and perhaps the best idea for you is walk the route from Kinnick Bay to Alec Castle, just like Pedro Salto did. I wait for your news. Curumina minor goes. E cardio a catch.